Remember those infamous headlines showing white people finding food while Black people were looting? It is time to talk about Hurricane Katrina. 20 years later, and in hindsight, what we have learned and what has been revealed about America's treatment of Black lives in moments of crisis.
Let's take it back to August 29th, 2005. I can't believe 20 years have actually passed already, because it feels like this was such a pivotal moment. The way that I'll never forget where I was during 9/11. I'll never forget seeing what I saw on the news and watching this all play out on TV and feeling like, what is happening in this nation? So Hurricane Katrina made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds of 125 miles per hour, hitting the Southeast and the Gulf, mainly Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and of course, New Orleans. It wasn't just a storm that devastated New Orleans, though. It was the levee system that failed catastrophically. 80% of the city was flooded, with some neighborhoods like the Lower Ninth Ward completely submerged. And surprise, surprise, most of those neighborhoods were predominantly Black.
According to the Brookings Institute, 67% of the population funded was, to your point, Blacks or African Americans. 1,800 people lost their lives. Over 1 million people were displaced, and those who were hit the hardest were overwhelmingly Black, elderly, low income. And that's not by accident. That is by design, as everything is in this country.
And even before the storm hit, Black residents in New Orleans were already twice as likely to live in poverty and less likely to have access to a car, which made evacuation next to impossible. There was a lot of critique of, well, why are people still there? And when you don't develop infrastructure and access for people to get out, you can't then blame survivors and the victims for not getting out in time.
Remember those infamous headlines showing white people finding food while Black people were looting? And then you had the racial double standard that continued on broadcast, national broadcast, where every channel was framing this response as almost like a personal disaster against the individual versus like, this happened by nature, but the infrastructure of the city did not enable for people to actually be able to protect themselves, their families, and their communities.